Hello everyone, this is part 33 of What If Naruto Traveled Back in Time and Changed, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. 1 week later, Sunagakure. Naruto stood in front of the team chosen to accompany Naruto directly. They were some of the strongest men and women he had ever worked with, and he had the utmost faith in them. The Kage, Gaara, Temari, Kakuro, B, Yugito, Shi, Kakashi, Might Guy, Zabuza, Chojuro, Haku, Shisui, Itachi and Neji stood lined up in front of him. They were captains with their own assigned sectors and responsibilities. Gaara was to lead the western flank and he would be on Zetsu duty with Hinata and Yami acting as the senses. Temari would be to Gaara's east and working with Hikari, who insisted on helping to at least sense the Zetsu. B and Yugito would hold down the middle. Zabuza and Might Guy would work with the joint forces to bring up the two companies to the eastern flank with Yosuke as their censor. Shi, Chojuro and Haku were in charge of the shinobi that would be spreading out and powering the Uzumaki arts, space denial, seals. Shisui, Itachi and Kakashi were to accompany Naruto and deal with Obito. The original 200 shinobi were grown to 400 to power the barrier. The Kage each insisted on making sure that this would be the decisive battle and they wanted to make sure the barrier couldn't be disrupted. Alright, guys, we are marching into enemy territory. Naruto started. I would expect resistance from Iwa, but we can't let them distract us from our mission. They should be crippled after their failure in Iron Country. Stay focused and don't let Zetsu surprise you. During my scouting, I felt them all over, especially around Iwa. We move out at full speed, and we camp tonight 10 miles away from the border. At 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, we move into Iwa and my team will speed ahead of the main force and get ready to confront Madara. Gaara stood by his father and Kazekage. Will we not have to worry about White Zetsu in the desert? I have 100 clones along the border that are hunting the White Zetsu. They cannot escape my sensory abilities, so they should pull back into Iwa. Naruto answered. Won't that tip them off? May asked. Naruto shrugged. They may know we are doing something, but they won't know what. The important thing is to get the barrier up before they decide to bail. Darui put a calming hand on B's shoulder, but the Kumo Jinchuriki snarled at Madara's name. Are you sure I can't come with you, Ruto? Fool ya fool. Naruto shook his head. No, I don't want any other Jinchuriki around Madara. The way he was able to pull so much of Gyuki's yokai out of you in your short battle makes me nervous. For him to take two tails in a couple minutes is no joke. He is right, B. Let's just focus on taking out the Zetsu and other shinobi. Yugito said to comfort him. And if Madara or Obito breaks the barrier we just march on Iwa. Raza said more to confirm the plans than ask the question. Yes, if this barrier fails, then we take out his only remaining ally. That would be better than leaving so many enemies run wild while I hunt him. Naruto answered with a bit of remorse. But we should offer them the opportunity to surrender. Itachi asked. Why offer such mercy to people who will never see you as anything other than a monster? Because I know all too well what it feels like to have your village destroyed to almost the last man, woman and child. Naruto answered somberly, which cowed the group in front of him. Keep your men under control and fight with honor. If the Earth Daimyo and his samurai get involved, then we will have a massive fight on our hands. Were they mobilizing? Darui asked. Not that I felt. We should be able to end this before they can fully mobilize though. I am not against crippling Iwa and Earth Country, but if people surrender then we should let them. Naruto said after shaking off his sobering thoughts. That's a relief. May sighed out. The Earth Daimyo has 20,000 samurai and he can muster militia as well, that would make the battle exhausting. And I really don't want to kill that many people. Kakashi added while Might Guy remained stoic with a determined look on his face. This statement got a round of head nods. Earth Country may be enemies, but nobody felt like that much death would ever be something to celebrate. Alright, let's move out. Naruto said. We got your back, Ruto. Kurama said within the seal. Indeed, I believe it is time we end this, Chomei added. Decisive battle. Naruto, Itachi, Shisui and Kakashi blurred through the mountains of Iwa as the three Sharingan bearers struggled to keep up with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. They had separated from the main force at the Iwa border nearly 30 minutes ago, and Naruto could already sense the beginnings of multiple battles as he closed the distance to Madara's new hideout. As he approached the mountains that surrounded Iwagakure, Naruto saw a golden shimmer spread over the horizon and he felt the tingle of active chakra as the barrier activated. Alright, they're ahead of schedule. Now, let's get there before they have time to react, Naruto said as he clapped his hands midair and activated his golden sage mode. Kakashi watched his sensei's son, the young man that should have been his little brother, dart off into the distance. The golden glow of his cloak pulled further ahead of him, and he cursed as he noticed he was falling behind Shisui and Itachi. It was freeing to him, to move without the restrictive seals active, but it was insane trying to keep up with those three. Kakashi shook off his lazy thoughts and pushed more chakra to his lower limbs to keep up with the three insanely fast shinobi. Kakashi closed his eyes and offered a prayer to Minato, Kushina and Rin to protect Naruto during this battle. Itachi felt an unfamiliar nervousness rise in his chest as he followed his student to confront the most legendary leader of his clan. His whole life changed when the young blonde entered his life, and as time passed, he grew to appreciate this man more and more. As Iwa's mountainous terrain blurred around him, he marveled at the difference Naruto made for his family, clan, village and world. He realized that he had been following Naruto since he joined Team 8 and he was just grateful for the chance to fight alongside him. He closed his eyes and thanked Kami for this opportunity and realized that he was praying a lot more to the deity now that he knew she was real. Shisui was resolved to end this war today. When he learned that Naruto saved him, or at least changed his fate with his second chance, he didn't know what to think about such a mind-blowing revelation. To learn that in a previous timeline he was killed by Danzo before he could stop the Uchiha Kuppei attempt was a lot to swallow. An image of Hana flickered through his mind, and he couldn't stop the smile that came to his face despite the winds of Iwa trying to blow his cheeks off. Shisui closed his eyes and offered a prayer of Graud to Kami for this second chance and for the blonde man she used to give it to him. Up in Kami's realm, every soul was watching and waiting for the imminent fight. Kami was overwhelmed as prayer requests poured in and she chuckled when she processed Itachi and Shisui's prayer. She spread her senses around her realm and giggled as the Uzumaki and Senju clans were talking animatedly while watching their progeny march fearlessly to battle Madara. She sighed when she sensed every soul from Iwa hoping for his failure. She shook her head when she heard them saying that if anyone could kill the demon's son, then it would be Madara. Why did the dead even bring the grudges to her realm? Kushina was watching on while holding Minato's hand. She knew this would be a tough fight and she was watching the split screens that contained the battles of the allied shinobi against the remains of Iwa, Am and White Zetsu. Evidently, the Iwa forces were alerted to many White Zetsu suddenly dying in Suna's desert and they were ready for an attack. She sighed as the paperwork started appearing on her desk as the first casualties of the battle were sent to Kami's realm. Minato marveled as he watched an unprecedented feat of Fuinjutsu take place. Imagine trying to encompass a whole nation in a barrier. A barrier that was powered by 800 conduit seals and 400 shinobis while being combined with natural energy. It made him swell with pride as he watched his village, and his son's allies, fight. It filled him pride to watch his son march forward to confront the most feared enemy of all time. He literally couldn't be prouder of his son. Shinigami and Yami were seated next to their mother as they prepared for the influx of souls. This was the first time in a long time that their mother had called them for anything. They watched on in amazement as they watched the mortal armies clash, which was nothing unusual in and of itself. What amazed them was watching four villages, that were embroiled in war and rivalry for the past century, work together around their mother's chosen. You know, sister, this almost makes all of the paperwork worth it. Yami said as she watched the battles on the big screen while sipping some scotch. Almost. The Shinigami grunted. I am still mad that mother took all of my glory. That Ceylon, her champion, used to be mine. The pouty tone of the goddess of death made Yami laugh. Ah, quit pouting and give it a rest, Shin. Yami said dismissively. You have been crying over that for the past 14 years. What don't you get? If mother didn't tamper with things, then you never would have gotten another soul. Without souls and mortals, we would have faded. Get over yourself. The Shinigami scoffed and crossed her arms under her bust while muttering, she could have done that without changing my seal and claiming my champion. He was supposed to be mine after his first death. Yami burst out in laughter. Oh, that is what this is about. Your mad mother has claimed a mortal you were interested in. Kami's head snapped towards her two daughters. Well, Shin, too bad. You should have told me before I did all of this. That being said, you can find another. He is mine now. The test run is going that well? Yami asked with an eyebrow raised. Kami blushed and nodded and the Shinigami hemmed. Yes, I knew it would and I believe he has decided to accept it. Kushina appeared and glommed onto Kami. Yay. To think, I get to be the mother-in-law to the goddess of creation. Does that mean I get a cool job like Shin-chan or Yami-chan? Kami patted Kushina on the head. I think I could do that for you, Shina. Is being my secretary not good enough? Kushina put on a pouty face, which made Kami chuckle. We can talk about it another time. The main attraction is about to start. Madara felt the arrival of Naruto and a couple others. He felt chakra shimmer over a wide area, and he looked to Obito. Go outside and take a look. While I deal with the Senju boy, go get me the other Jinchuriki and their Biju. Obito nodded. As you wish, Lord Madara. Obito activated his M's and tried to travel through his pocket dimension. Madara looked at him like he was some sort of fool when Obito remained standing still in the mountainous chamber. The legendary Uchiha's scowl deepened when Obito shifted, and he looked like some sort of constipated fool. What are you doing? Madara growled with his arms crossed in front of his chest. I can't use my Kamui, Obito said nervously. Madara closed his eyes and pulled on the natural energy that he had become more familiar with over the months. That damn child, Madara hissed before continuing, we are in some sort of barrier and, Madara's eyes widened to comical proportions, which was extremely unusual for the Rinnegan wielder. It covers the whole country. Obito's eye widened under his mask, and he didn't know what to say about that. That was simply impossible. So, what do we do? Without Kamui I am at a severe disadvantage. Madara scoffed, we dance. We have no other choice. They are here. The chest of Madara's Susanoo flared to life and encompassed himself and Obito. It was then that the mountain rumbled violently before three gigantic earth dragons tore through the chamber and crashed into the incomplete Susanoo of Madara. After the smoke cleared, two Uchiha stared off against Naruto, Itachi, Shisui and Kakashi. It was Kakashi that spoke first while Madara and Naruto had a glaring contest. Obito, why didn't you come back to the village? Why did you kill Sensei? Kakashi is brokenhearted, no longer able to maintain his composure in front of his old friend. Obito scoffed as he stood next to his master, back to the village. After you broke your promise to me. Not only did you break your promise, but you were the one that killed Rin. Obito's tone raised to a shout and tension rippled in the air between the Sharingan brothers. Before Kakashi could reply, Madara scoffed. You two, if you are going to have a little reunion, take it somewhere else. This is a battlefield. Yes, Lord Madara. Obito said obediently with a small bow of the head. Fine by me. Itachi said before nodding his head to the side. Shall we? Go. Madara said petulantly and impatiently. I don't want you to spoil my dance again. As the four shinobi vanished and went away off to have their conversation and battle, Naruto finally spoke to Madara. Why are you so persistent on this that you would plan your resurrection? Why not just enjoy your time in the pure world with your old rival? Madara edged his head. Pure world. There is nothing after this life, child, there is only darkness. Naruto shook his head. Nope. You're wrong. He used a teasing tone to incense Madara. The Uchiha man scoffed, HN. And how would you know? Naruto chuckled devilishly as he adopted his pranking look on his face. How about if you knock me on my back? I will tell you. Madara cracked his knuckles. Very well, let us dance. Madara held up his hand as Naruto got into a fighting stance. Our big jutsus are fun, but we have yet to have a good old-fashioned fight. If this is to be my last fight with you, I can accept that. I will not try to flee, and I agree that either you or I will be the victor today. However, if I accept those conditions, then I want a true battle. I want a true dance. Naruto wanted to scoff and simply end the fool, he wanted to refute the childish claim, but he remembered how battle-crazed and childish Madara was the last time around. If he could get him to willingly enter a fight to the death, then that is the best-case scenario. Naruto sighed and settled with a simple nod. Very well, Madara, I will give you your dance. You are not against a good country swing, are you? Naruto asked. Madara edged his head to the side, and he was about to ask what a country swing was, but he was forced to parry a punch from the blonde. Madara's eyes widened and his right Sharingan shifted into his Rinnegan. Even parrying the punch, Madara felt the weight behind it as the golden hand of Naruto whizzed past his face. Madara leaned back and backflipped and tried to catch Naruto with a kick. Naruto absorbed the blow and an intense taijutsu battle began. The Uchiha Sage and Senju Uzumaki Sage clashed in high-speed taijutsu combat that was filled with earth-shattering kicks and punches fast enough to create wind funnels. The two were evenly matched as they warmed up against one another. Naruto couldn't stop the battle mania from fixing a smile on his face, and he couldn't repress the begrudging respect for the combat prowess of his opponent. If the crazed smile on Madara's face was anything to go by, then Naruto believed he was feeling the same thing. As the two disappeared in blurs of gold and black, the mountains of the area became a battleground. As they each scaled up the chakra and increased the potency of the natural energy in their bodies, the devastation escalated. After 10 minutes, Naruto was able to land a decisive blow to Madara's face, but he paid for it by taking a mule kick that sent him flying into the base of a mountain. As Naruto pulled himself out of the crater, Naruto saw Madara rubbing his cheek with a victorious grin on his face. I put you on your back. Madara said proudly. Now, tell me what you know of the pure world and how you know it. Naruto shrugged and ignored the cautions from Kurama and Chomei. Because this isn't my first rodeo. I have fought you before, I have been through a variation of this dance before. Madara blinked, and then blinked again, when he finally scoffed, and you expect me to believe that? You are in Sage mode, aren't you? Even if it is that weak, that is definitely Sage mode, and you should be able to sense if I were lying. Naruto answered blandly and shook out his wrists. Stopping around, Naruto. Kurama growled loudly. Hi, Naruto replied internally. Ruto. Brother is right. This is not a man to mess around with. Chomei screeched. Madara had used the distraction to mull over his thoughts. So, then what happened last time? I answered the one promised question. Round 2. Naruto said with a cheeky smile. Madara nodded and let the fanatical grin spread across his face once more. This time, I choose to waltz. Madara unsealed a sickle and a katana out of his wrists. Naruto chuckled manically before he unsealed Benihime and Dragon's Roar and encased them in wind chakra. Very well, I can handle 3/4 timing. Let's dance. Naruto took the initiative this time and blurred forward with his blades held out to either side. He started with a side slash from the right that was blocked by the hilt of Madara's sickle. Before Madara could counter that block, his katana was forced to block a triplicate of slashes and stabs from Dragon's Roar. The first blood of the Kenjutsu battle was had by Naruto, but the shallow wound to Madara was already sizzling shut by the time that the next clash of blades sounded. The Kenjutsu fight continued to frustrate Madara as he had several slashes and tears in his cloak and his armor was beginning to look shabby as sharp wind slashes tore through it. He was frustrated that his Rinnegan and Sharingan were not enough to keep up with the blinding speed of the Senju boy. It was unbelievable to him that he was being outpaced this much and the boy wasn't even serious yet. It frustrated Madara to no end that his blades were losing each clash, despite the elemental advantage that Madara had over Naruto's wind blades. After another block, Madara saw that the wind covering Naruto's blades was saturated with water and the wind kept the water cool, which negated his flame-covered blades. That revelation was short-lived as Madara was forced to block a series of spinning slashes that escalated into thrusts. Madara was once again on the defensive as he relied on the predictive aspect of the Sharingan to defend himself against the blonde boy. Madara was no longer grinning as he took a deeper wound to his right leg, and he let out a roar of frustration as he used his Rinnegan to get the advantage in the Kenjutsu aspect of the fight. Naruto's eyes widened because his two blades were locked with Madara's once more when 8 blade-like appendages sprouted out of Madara's back and chest. Naruto was able to jump back, but one of the blades had stabbed him through the abdomen and caused a gush of blood before the wound healed shut. As he found his new footing, he was forced onto the defensive as Naruto now had to fight against 10 blades as opposed to 2. It took a shout of frustration from Kurama for the blonde knucklehead to realize that he could counter with his Mokuton chains. Madara had broken the rules first, after all. Madara scowled as the damnable chains made their appearance once more. With ninjutsu being used freely now, the gloves were off, and the true battle was starting. Madara opened with a Shinra Tensei that started to throw Naruto away when one of the ceiling chains wrapped around his ankle. Mid-air, Naruto was able to anchor 2 more chains in the ground and he spun Madara into the air before the Mokuton chain slammed him into the ground by his ankle on the opposite side of Naruto from where he began. Madara was confused and frustrated by the fact that the Preta path couldn't absorb the chakra chains efficiently. It was infuriating to the Uchiha who couldn't understand why the chakra-absorbing effects of the Preta path couldn't absorb constructs made of pure chakra. Naruto felt the small drain as chakra clashed against chakra, but he was more than able to sustain the minimal chakra drain from the overall clash. Madara hopped back to his feet and weaved through hand signs before blowing out a fire-style, majestic flame destroyer jutsu. As the intense wave of flame impacted on the mountain's face and spread towards Naruto, he countered with a wood wall to halt the flame's advance and then added a water-style, water-colliding wave. The water poured over the breakneck of the wood wall and doused the intense flames, which resulted in the area being encompassed in chakra-dense steam. The two sages ignored the steam and clashed violent jutsu against violent jutsu. They lost track of time, space and surroundings as the only thing that mattered was besting the opponent. The black flames of Amaterasu burned terrible swaths of black flames into the faces of mountains. Wooden trees were blown away by waves of gravity. Earth, water and wood dragons fought against fire dragons that burned hotter than Yami's hellscape. Lightning jutsus crashed into wooden walls with violent roars as the battle continued to escalate. The air became so saturated with chakra that the environment shifted around the two into an emerging chakra storm. Black clouds formed high in the skies, lightning flashed and rain began to fall as the chakra in the air swirled into a storm of epic proportions. The lightning jutsus of Madara charged the atmosphere and tore into the earth that Naruto erected to counter. Fire continued to superheat torrents of water that formed out of Naruto's own body or the free water vapor in the air. In Iwa, the warning sirens were blaring as the mountains around the precious village were being reduced to rubble one by one. The storms that erupted out of nowhere were further inspiration for the genin of Iwa to hop to their tasks. They overcame their fears and focused on evacuating their citizens to the underground shelters as the civilians gawked at the bouts of flames, flashes of lightning, gales of wind, chunks of earth and torrents of water erupting in the surrounding mountains. The universal thought of Iwa's civilians was, there is no way human beings could do such a thing. The Chunin guarding the walls were not senses, they were pretty rare in Iwa, after all. That being said, each of them could feel the massive swell of chakra that preceded each gigantic jutsu. The amount of fire used by Madara caused the already hot temperature of Earth country get to an uncomfortable point before the rainstorm formed and provided a sweet release. The flashes of jutsus of two intense fights continued flickering through the darkening skies and provided a unique show for the Chunin guards. Madara was frustrated as he called upon the power sealed in him. He focused it like he saw Naruto do and he was able to wrap the intense yokai around his body in a more tempered manner. It wasn't as clear and distinct as Naruto's chakra cloak, but it formed into a long sage cloak over Madara, and it was a dense black. It wasn't as pure as the old Madara's Juubi cloak, but it was still threatening to Naruto. You yahoos ready in there? Naruto thought. You are having way too much fun with this. Kurama deadpanned. I'm ready Ruto. Chome chitted excitedly, it has been quite fun to watch. Kurama scoffed, yeah, the idiot only gets thrown around by the gravity jutsu 100 times. Oh well, at least I don't have to focus on healing his broken body anymore. Naruto laughed out loud as he flared into golden yokai sage mode before thinking back, you haven't had to focus on healing me for years. It is all sage mode. Plus, this is probably the last time I will get a fight on this level. He isn't even trying to run away. No shit, Kurama deadpanned, he is completely lost to the battle mania. He is basically acting on instinct at this point. Yeah, it is kinda scary how much of a battle genius he is. Naruto admitted. Brat, you are the same way. Kurama deadpanned once more and shook his head despondently. Chomei chuckled, you can say that again. Now, Ruto, focus. Yes, ma'am. Naruto thought and projected the image of a mock salute. With the power of the Biju and Gedo Mazo, Madara powered up his jutsu and got ready to throw something new at Naruto. After forcing the kid to defend from another wave of flame, Madara held both hands out in front of him and formed 3 mini Biju bombs. As Naruto was recovering from yet another wide-scale fire attack, his eyes widened to comical proportions when he saw Madara holding 3 Bijudama in his hands. Naruto immediately weaved through hand signs before placing both hands on the ground as the Bijudama began soaring towards him at high speeds. He summoned the 5 Rashomon gates to absorb the impact, and then he added in 2 V-shaped wooden barriers to disperse the insane pressure and flames of the explosions. As Naruto recovered, he felt a tingle in his senses, but it was unfamiliar, yet familiar at the same time. Suddenly, Naruto was punched hard in the face by an invisible foe, and he was hit mid-flight by yet another invisible foe. Kurama and Naruto came to the same realization simultaneously as the memories of his previous fight with Madara surfaced. He clicked his teeth and 4 wood clones sprouted out of his back, glowing in the GYSM, and they each darted at their invisible opponents. Kami, dammit, Limbo and all of the Rinnegan's other BS abilities were really cheating. Naruto almost instantly healed the damage done by the Limbo clones, and he sensed that his wood clones were able to deal with them. Naruto felt Madara's chakra and yokai swell, and he knew something big was coming. Then, 3 familiar signatures registered in his brain as their roars echoed around the mountains of Iwa. Single quote. Naruto thought before he shook off his initial reaction and thought to Q, you ready for that new jutsu, friend? Kurama had been growing frustrated with the slow ramp-up of the battle so far. Sure, he knew that Naruto could easily handle the drawn-out fight, and he admitted that his partner likely had far better stamina than the reincarnated Uchiha. Upon feeling his brethren let loose from the Gedo Mazo, Kurama's anger had instantly flared, and Chomei wasn't much different. When he heard Naruto's question, he smirked devilishly and was ready to take the kid gloves off. Hell yeah. Kurama snarled through the mind link, it is high past time to free my brethren and put this bastard back in the dirt. Oh, let's do it. Chomei chittered excitedly. Naruto closed his eyes and clapped his hands together before beginning his hand signs. Madara panted from the exertion of releasing 3 Biju from the Gedo Mazo. He watched the Biju appear with the chakra rods linked to purplish black chains that encompassed the base of their necks. He closed his eyes to calm his breathing and steady his chakra coils. He cursed Obito for resurrecting him prematurely, because this body was clearly not at the level he expected, and the drain of such an invigorating battle could be felt. Madara's eyes snapped open when he sensed the massive upsurge in chakra from the Senju boy. It dwarfed anything he had used thus far, and from the feeling it surpassed the combined chakra of the 3 Biju he just summoned, which was stunning to Madara. However, with his Rinnegan open, he couldn't deny the fact that it was happening. To his Rinnegan it was like looking at a miniature chakra sun before Madara's jaw dropped when the jutsu sprang to life. Battle at the border, Eastern Battle. Temari was bored as she steamed a group of 100 white zetsu and watched as the superheated water vapor turned the plant creatures into melted piles of goo. She was standing at the front of her formation, and she felt the gawking gazes of the men and women behind her. She looked off into the distance where she could feel her little brother's chakra swell and wondered what had gotten him so riled up. Before she could go and check, a company of Iwa shinobi appeared behind a formation of white zetsu that had just risen out of the ground. They just don't know when to give up, Hikari said despondently. She had watched the decimation of the zetsu and felt nothing, but she had grown nauseous when she saw the original border guard killed. She wasn't looking forward to seeing even more loss of life. Temari squinted as she looked at the leader of the formation, and then she clicked her teeth in anger. That little doesn't know when to quit. Who is she? Hikari asked while the allied forces listened in. Kuretsuki, daughter of the Tsuchikage. She was there at the Chunin exams, remember? Temari answered blandly while never removing her eyes from the battlefield. Hikari snapped her fingers. Oh yeah, her. The girl Ruto captured before you, well, died, and Ruto, well, went crazy. Yeah, that one. Temari said in a frigid tone. Relax, my girl. Kokuo soothed through Temari's mind link. Are you going to give her a chance to surrender? Hell no, Temari answered instantly. This had 2 chances. 3 strikes and she is out. Kokuo sighed sadly. Very well, I am with you. Temari turned and addressed her forces. We have an enemy company and a couple hundred white Zetsu. You are to remain in your teams of 3 at all times. Go after Mai Jutsu fades and Hikari casts the golden pollination. Hi. The formation of 50 shinobi shouted behind her while Hikari nodded resolutely. Without further warning, turquoise-colored chakra surrounded Temari, and she summoned Kamitaki, her personal summons. Without a further word, she nodded to the weasel before she opened her primary battle fan all the way. The potent wind chakra merged with Kokuo's yokai and channeled through the seals on her battle fan. She began her dance as Kamitaki focused on syncing his chakra with hers and joined her dance. Kuretsuki saw the lover of the blonde demon and she saw the chakra cloak that erupted around her. She had issued orders to prepare defensive jutsu and the white Zetsus had already burrowed into the ground to seek shelter. Nothing could have prepared them for the triplicate of 800-foot wide twisters that hissed with steaming chakra that closed the distance to her formation in mere seconds. The potent winds clashed with earthen barriers and shredded them mercilessly, which allowed the steam chakra to penetrate the defenses and wreak havoc on 40 or so Iwa shinobi. As the twisters faded, the allied forces charged forward with a battle cry and golden flowers erupted from the ground and released a fine, golden pollen. As the pollen hit the ground, the white Zetsu were forced out of their hiding spots and they had unnatural growths all over their bodies. It looked like the white creatures were suffering from rapid onset cancer as their bodies bulged in unnatural ways. The idea behind this jutsu that Naruto created was to disable the transformation of the white Zetsu into allied forces. The golden pollen reacted with Hashirama's cells and caused a reaction to the potent natural energy embedded in the jutsu. Temari led her allies across the steaming battlefield, and she sprinted straight for Kuretsuki. Naruto wouldn't be happy that she was being motivated by revenge, but Temari felt like she had a score to settle with this girl. As she sealed her battle fan and pulled out her dual sensu fans, she steeled her nerves and prepared to give Kuretsuki her final lesson. Temari leaped into the air over a lava dome that was in good shape, and she formed 2 wind blades on the edges or her sensu fans. Kuretsuki felt the jutsu end and she looked at the 20 shinobi that were able to shelter within her lava dome. No wind jutsu would be enough to penetrate her lava defenses and as she dropped the lava dome, she felt the arrival of the enemy forces. She ordered her forces to scatter and engage before she looked up and saw 2 translucent wind blades descending rapidly upon her. She funneled chakra to her mouth and spat out 2 lava balls to intercept the wind blades. Temari saw the counter and didn't let it disrupt her battle plan. She encased her fans in steam chakra and fell upon Kuretsuki with a battle cry. Her fans sliced down and through Kuretsuki's kunai before the tore 2 vertical slashes into her uniform. Temari enjoyed the pained screams of the girl and she instantly moved to continue her assault. She begrudgingly admitted that Kuretsuki was skilled as she immediately encased her kunai in a lava chakra, which equalized the subsequent clashes against her fans. Shikamaru, Chuji and Ino were back together again, and they were attached to Temari's platoon. Shikamaru used Chuji in an Earth-style, human boulder yo-yo, to flatten the formation of Zetsu. He processed Temari jumping over the white Zetsu and whispered, "Troublesome," under his breath when he saw the overzealous spouse of the most troublesome blonde ever. He turned to Ino and issued orders. "Ino, we need to get through the Zetsu and get to Temari. She is in there alone." Shikamaru shouted over the roar of the battle. Ino just sliced through 2 white Zetsu white chakra scalpels that were more like chakra sabers since they were 3 feet long. "She will be fine. Just make sure these planters can't show up behind us." Temari was forced to disengage Kuretsuki as 8 Iwa shinobi surrounded her to give the Iwa princess a breather. Unfortunately, Temari's wind and steam jutsu were truly devastating when Temari didn't need to hold back. That was why she jumped ahead of her formation and the volley of wind blades that began shredding the Iwa forces validated her reasoning. As an Iwa man that looked like he should have been retired already was cut in half, Temari once again launched herself at Kuretsuki. Kuretsuki panted from her exchange with Temari, but she steadied her chakra and allowed her medic to heal the 2 wounds running down her front chest. She saw that she didn't have much time and she channeled as much chakra as she could into her next jutsu. After she finished her hand seals, she placed her hands on the ground, and it caused the whole battlefield to shake. Shikamaru's eyes widened to sources when he saw a massive volcano, nearly 500 feet in diameter, erupt and spew lava into the formation of allied forces. He was then relieved as Chuji and another Akamaki used an earth jutsu to absorb the initial volley of lava. Then, the two squads of Kiri shinobi were able to launch a massive wave of water at the top of the volcano, which caused an eruption of steam around the battlefield. Shikamaru was grateful for the storm and rain that had formed overhead because that empowered his Kiri allies. Temari smirked devilishly when she saw the steam encompassing the battlefield, and she synced her chakra with Kokuo's yokai before spreading it through the steam. Once that was done, she worked with Kamitake to create a heavy downdraft that blew the steam away from her allies and into the Iwa and Zetsu ranks. She reveled in the screams of her opponents as the surprise steam jutsu crippled them. She then darted toward where she felt Kuretsuki. Kuretsuki panted from the strain of her best jutsu and the subsequent strain of having to surround herself in yet another lava dome. It was stressing to her that her opponents were able to launch successive high-level jutsu one after another at her men. She shook off her thoughts as she felt the wind die down around her, and she began releasing her lava dome when she felt pain lance through her chest and both arms. She was able to look down and process both of her arms falling off before her body began sliding off of her lower half as her world went black. Temari took a brief moment to savor the defeat of the lava before she joined her allies in finishing off the remaining Zetsu and Iwa shinobi. It took less than 5 minutes after killing Kuretsuki to clean up the battlefield, and she ordered her men to tend to the wounded. As she looked around, she was sad to see at least 5 of her allies dead, and she winced when she saw the burns on the 2 Akamaki that had taken the brunt of the lava and steam attacks. She walked over to the group of injured that were being tended to by the medics. "Sorry about that, Chuji. Thanks for protecting our guys from that jutsu." Chuji offered a sincere smile and waved her off. "Us Akamaki are tough. That lava hurt and your steam didn't feel much better, but we will be fine." The other Akamaki looked up and offered the same sincere, chubby-cheeked smile to back up his clan air. "You troublesome woman, you couldn't just use a katana or something," Shikamaru drawled. Temari scoffed. "I could, but that is Ruto's thing." "She is right, Shika," Hikari said cheerfully, joining the conversation. "Her sensu fans are just as, if not more, dangerous than Brother's sword." Ino wrapped an arm over Temari's shoulder. "Yeah, but Ruto doesn't devastate whole battlefields when he swings his swords. I think the battlefield devastation was the point," Chuji said while chuckling. "It made our job easier, so no harm no foul." "Thanks, Chuji. That was why you were my favorite from Team 10. Temari said playfully, which earned a pout from Ino. Before the blonde Mindwalker could counter, everyone froze as they heard the roar of the 3 released Biju. Temari was instantly notified by Kokuo about what happened, but that was nothing compared to what she saw next. Despite being 50 or so miles away, she was still able to see a massive wooden construct erect itself in the distant mountains. She closed her eyes and prayed while the allied forces around her were each struggling to break themselves out of their shock. At the beginning of the battle, Gaara and Raza were forced to separate from Temari when one of their worst-case scenarios became reality. They knew that their front was responsible for the battles that would be nearest the Earth capital. When they entered Earth country, scouts reported that the samurai were mobilizing from the capital, and Gaara immediately set out with his father to stall or confront the samurai. As the sand and golden clouds came to a stop over the Earth capital, Gaara looked down on thousands of samurai that were in formation and preparing to depart the capital's gates. "Father, Naruto didn't want us to kill them unless absolutely necessary," Gaara said in his usual monotone, despite the excited protestations of the Shukaku, who wanted to release havoc. "Then perhaps we should give them a demonstration of what it would mean to leave the safety of those gates," Raza said with a proud smirk on his face. Shukaku howled now in Gaara's mind, and Raza chuckled as he saw the obvious signs of his son having an internal conversation. "Very well, father. I will sync with Shukaku and plug the gates. You can send in a shadow clone to negotiate. Have fun, son. Do not overextend yourself," Raza said as his golden cloud glided towards the city. Gaara closed his eyes and absorbed the sand that was below his feet. As he fell through the skies, he synchronized with Shukaku, and a Anik Tanuki formed in the air before crashing to the ground in a thunderous roar accompanied by an earthquake. Before the samurai could react, Tidal waves of sand erupted from the dry ground around the Earth capital and crashed into the high walls surrounding the city and plugged the gates. With that done, Gaara let Shukaku have some fun and went to spend some quality time with his mother within the seal. Shukaku restrained himself as he watched Raza send repeat shadow clones into the samurai formations to negotiate with them. The slightly crazy Tanuki cackled loudly when it saw Raza erect a golden barrier to stop the volleys of arrows from the long bows. His cackling intensified when he saw Raza form golden javelins that he held suspended in the air above the samurai formations. He whined a bit when the samurai's resistance stopped, and he saw the negotiations taking place. Shukaku was never one to let a good thing go to waste though, so he began forming giant sand sculptures while Raza was negotiating. This reignited his cackling when he heard the frustrated shouts of the samurai on the walls. Their stupid honor stopped them from enjoying Shukaku's art. The Tanuki could admit that he was being a little crass, but the tiny humans should just be glad he wasn't claiming their blood with his sand. With a final touch, the newest sand statue on the road to the Earth capital was finished, and this earned the loudest roar of anger yet. The glorious sand statue of the Tsuchikage and Earth Daimyo taking sand javelins in the ass would remain forever, as true archer. Or at least until the samurai could destroy it, but Shukaku considered that semantics. Shukaku's joy was disrupted when he felt the flare of yokai from Iwagako's direction. He growled loudly and wanted to run to reinforce Naruto, but Gaara retook control and just continued to look off in that direction. When the giant wood construct appeared in the skyline over the Iwa Mountains, Gaara shook his head. His brother never did know the definition of restraint. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.